Have you ever felt like your emotions are running the show, pulling you in directions you didn't choose? One moment, you're calm and collected, and the next, you're spiraling, angry, anxious, or overwhelmed, without even knowing how you got there. Here's the harsh truth. Most of us let our emotions control us instead of the other way around. But what if I told you there's a better way? Not through suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist, but by mastering them with a no-nonsense, practical approach that actually works. This isn't about wishful thinking or vague self-help cliches. It's about real, actionable tools to take charge of your emotional world, starting today. If you're ready to stop being a passenger and start driving your emotional life with purpose and clarity, stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll have a step-by-step guide to navigating your emotions like a pro. And trust me, it's not what you're expecting. Let's dive in. Number 1. The trigger test. Let's start with a bold claim. You don't really know yourself until you've willingly walked into the lion's den of your emotions. Sounds dramatic, right? But stay with me here. Imagine intentionally walking into situations that you know will tick you off, push your buttons, or make your blood boil. Not because you enjoy the chaos, but because it's the secret to mastering your emotions. Yes, trust me on this. It's not about masochism, it's about control. You know the feeling. You're scrolling through your phone and suddenly someone's post or comment ruins your entire mood. Or maybe it's that one coworker who knows exactly how to get under your skin during team meetings. We've all been there, moments when your emotions seem to hijack your day and no amount of deep breathing can bring you back. But what if I told you there's a way to flip the script? What if, instead of avoiding these situations or letting them wreck you, you could use them to become emotionally bulletproof? Here's the idea. The trigger test. It's simple, really. You deliberately expose yourself to small, manageable situations that push your emotional buttons, but in a controlled, intentional way. Think of it as emotional weightlifting. The more you practice handling uncomfortable moments, the stronger your emotional muscles become. Why does this work? Because your brain learns by experience. When you repeatedly show it that you can stay calm and composed under pressure, even when provoked, those reactions start to become your default. Now I know what you're thinking. Intentionally upsetting myself. That sounds insane. I get it. But let me share a quick story to show you how powerful this can be. A while back, I had a coworker, let's call him Dan, who loved to interrupt me during meetings. At first it drove me insane. I'd stew over it for hours afterward, mentally rehashing what I should have said. Then I decided to test this method. Before the next meeting, I prepared myself. I told myself, Dan's going to interrupt, and when he does, I'll calmly address it without letting it ruin my day. Sure enough, Dan did his thing, but instead of snapping or shutting down, I paused, smiled and said, "Hold on, Dan, let me finish my thought." The room went silent. Dan looked surprised, and honestly, so was I. But it worked. I stayed in control, and from then on, Dan interrupted me far less. Here's the beauty of the trigger test. It's not about changing other people. It's about changing your response. It's about reclaiming your power in those tiny, everyday moments where you usually feel powerless. When you take control of your reactions, you take control of your peace. This is about more than just staying calm in annoying situations. It's about building emotional resilience. Think of it like creating a protective buffer around your mind. Sure, things might still sting a little, but they won't derail you. And isn't that what we're all after? To go through life with confidence, unshaken by petty provocations. So the next time you feel that familiar spark of irritation, pause. Recognize it as an opportunity. Step into it with intention, because every trigger is just a chance to prove to yourself how strong you've become. Your space, your peace, and your dignity, they're all yours to protect. Number 2, Cold Compassion Challenge. Let me ask you something. How often do you let other people's problems, drama, or negativity completely drain you? Before you even realize it, you're carrying emotional baggage that isn't even yours. But what if I told you that caring, really caring, doesn't have to come at the cost of your own peace? Enter what I like to call the Cold Compassion Challenge. It might sound like an oxymoron, but hear me out. We've all been there. A friend calls you in tears about their latest breakup. A co-worker dumps their frustrations on you during lunch. Or maybe it's your family asking you to mediate yet another unnecessary argument. You know the type. The people who see you as their emotional dumping ground. And what do? You listen. You empathize. You give advice. And then you walk away feeling completely drained, while they walk away feeling lighter. It's exhausting, isn't it? Here's the truth. Compassion doesn't mean carrying other people's burdens for them. That's where cold compassion comes in. It's about showing care and empathy without overloading your own emotional bandwidth. Think of it as a way to love people without losing yourself. Instead of diving headfirst into their problems, you approach it with a level head. You listen, you acknowledge, but you don't absorb. It's like saying, I'm here for you, but I'm not going to drown with you. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That sounds cold-hearted. Aren't we supposed to help the people we care about? Of course. But there's a difference between helping and enabling. Cold compassion isn't about shutting people out. It's about setting boundaries so you can offer meaningful support without sacrificing your own mental health. Because let's be real, what good are you to anyone if you're emotionally wiped out? Let me give you an example. A few months ago, a close friend of mine was going through a rough patch. Every time we talked, it was the same cycle. Vent, cry, repeat. At first, I threw myself into being the perfect listener. But after a few weeks, I realized I was losing sleep, stressing over their problems, and putting my own needs on hold. So, I tried a different approach. The next time they called, I listened, validated their feelings, and then gently said, "You know, I think this is something you'd really benefit from talking to a professional about. I'll always be here to support you, but I want to make sure you're getting the help you need." Was it easy? Did it feel awkward? Absolutely. But something amazing happened. Instead of feeling dismissed, they actually thanked me. They realized that I wasn't pulling away. I was encouraging them to take control of their own situation. And for the first time in weeks, I hung up the phone feeling calm, not drained. The beauty of cold compassion is that it lets you be there for others without losing sight of your own needs. It's about protecting your peace while still showing up for the people you care about. It's about learning to say, I care deeply, but I won't carry what isn't mine. This isn't just about helping others, it's about helping yourself. When you practice cold compassion, you'll notice a shift. You'll stop feeling overwhelmed by everyone else's problems. You'll feel lighter, freer, and more in control of your emotions. And the best part? You'll still be the kind, supportive person you've always been, just with healthier boundaries. So the next time someone comes to you with their struggles, remember this. Compassion doesn't mean self-sacrifice. You can care deeply and still protect your peace. That's the magic of the Cold Compassion Challenge. It's your space, your energy, and your life, and no one else gets to drain that from you. Number 3, the blame. Flip, let me hit you with this. What if I told you that everything wrong in your life is your fault? Now, before you roll your eyes and click away, hear me out. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad or to pile guilt onto your already overflowing plate. Quite the opposite, actually. This idea, what I like to call the blame flip, isn't about punishment. It's about power. Because when you own the blame, you take back control. We've all been there. Your partner snaps at you, and suddenly the entire day feels ruined. Your co-worker messes up a project, and now you're scrambling to fix it. Or maybe it's something bigger, your childhood, your circumstances, the hand life dealt you. It's so tempting to point the finger outward, isn't it? To say, this isn't my fault, this happened to me, and maybe you're right. But here's the thing, as long as you believe that your life is someone else's responsibility, you stay stuck. The blame flip is a simple but radical idea. Instead of seeing blame as a burden, you treat it as a tool. If you say, this is my fault, you're not just accepting responsibility, you're claiming agency. Why? Because when something is your fault, it means you have the power to change it. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about realizing that you're the one in the driver's seat. Now, I know this sounds counterintuitive. You might be thinking, but what if it really wasn't my fault? And you're right. There are situations where you genuinely didn't do anything wrong. But that's not the point. The blame flip isn't about assigning moral fault. It's about reframing the narrative so you can focus on what's within your control. Blame becomes less about fault and more about action. Here's a quick story to show you what I mean. A few years ago, I missed out on a big opportunity at work. I was furious. My manager hadn't communicated clearly, and I felt totally blindsided. For weeks I stewed over it, blaming him for my missed shot. Then one day, it hit me. Blaming him wasn't helping me, it was keeping me stuck. So I flipped it. I asked myself, what could I have done differently? I realized I could have followed up sooner, asked more questions and clarified expectations. That shift changed everything. Instead of feeling powerless, I felt motivated. And guess what? The next time a similar opportunity came up, I nailed it. The blame flip works because it puts the ball back in your court. It shifts your focus from what happened to you to what you can do about it. It's not about letting others off the hook. It's about refusing to let their actions define your life. This is about reclaiming your power, your focus, and your future. Think about it. How many times have you given away your peace because you were waiting for someone else to fix things? When you flip the blame, you stop waiting. You stop wishing someone else would change, and you start changing what you can. And that, my friend, is where freedom lives. So the next time life throws you a curveball, don't waste energy pointing fingers. Flip the blame, take the reins, own it. Not because it's fair, but because it's empowering. This is your life, your power, your peace. Own the blame, and you'll own the outcome. Number 4, controlled chaos. Therapy. What if I told you the secret to feeling more in control is to let go of control? Sounds backward, right? But here's the thing. Our constant obsession with organizing, perfecting, and planning every single detail often creates more stress than it solves. That's where controlled chaos therapy comes in. It's not about letting your life spiral into disarray. It's about intentionally leaning into a little chaos to free yourself from the mental straitjacket of perfectionism. We've all been there. You make a to-do list, and it's longer than a novel. You tell yourself, if I can just get everything done exactly right, I'll feel better. But what happens? Something inevitably goes sideways, and suddenly it feels like the world is ending. Whether it's a messy home, a delayed project, or plans falling apart, that need for control starts to suffocate us. And let's be honest, it's exhausting. Controlled chaos. Therapy is the art of inviting just enough chaos into your life to remind yourself that it's okay not to have everything figured out. It's like taking a mental deep breath and saying, you know what? This can be messy, and I'll still be fine. The idea is simple. You create small, manageable situations where you intentionally let go of perfection and allow things to unfold as they will. Why? Because life is inherently unpredictable, and learning to thrive amidst the mess makes you stronger, not weaker. Here's a quick example from my own life. I used to be obsessed with keeping my workspace immaculate. If my desk wasn't spotless, I couldn't focus. But one day, I decided to try something different. I left a pile of papers scattered, my coffee mug unwashed, and my notebooks open. It felt like chaos. But you know what? I ended up having one of my most productive days. Why? Because I stopped wasting energy micromanaging the environment and focused on what actually mattered, the work itself. That small act of controlled chaos helped me realize that my productivity didn't hinge on perfection. This isn't about neglecting your responsibilities or letting everything go to ruin. It's about practicing intentional messiness in areas where you've been holding on too tightly. Maybe you stop color-coding your calendar for a week. Maybe you let the dishes sit in the sink overnight. Maybe you leave an email draft imperfect and just hit send. Whatever it is, you're giving yourself permission to embrace the messy, unpredictable side of life and see that it doesn't break you. Controlled chaos. Therapy isn't just about surface-level mess. It's about emotional freedom. When you let go of the need to control everything, you make room for spontaneity, creativity, and resilience. It's about reclaiming your mental peace and breaking free from the stress of always trying to keep things perfect. This is your way of saying, I am more than my need for order, and I can handle whatever comes my way. So the next time life feels like it's spinning out of control, don't fight the chaos. Invite it in, on your terms. Let it remind you that perfection isn't the goal. Progress, peace, and flexibility are. You've got this messy desk, chaotic schedule and all. Trust the process, lean into the chaos, and discover the freedom waiting for you on the other side. Number 5. Emotional fasting. What if I told you the quickest way to gain emotional clarity is to take a step back? Not from the people around you, but from your own emotions. Sounds strange, doesn't it? We're always taught to feel our feelings, to process them immediately, and to respond in the moment. But here's the twist. Sometimes the best way to truly understand and manage your emotions is to give them space. This is what I call emotional fasting, a deliberate pause to reset and reflect before diving headfirst into the chaos of reaction. We've all had moments where emotions overwhelm us. Maybe it's anger after an argument, anxiety before a big decision, or sadness that lingers longer than expected. And in those moments, our instinct is often to act, to resolve, to fix it. But here's the thing, acting in the heat of emotion can sometimes cause more harm than good. You know that text you sent when you were furious, or the decision you made when you were panicked? Yeah, we've all been there. Emotional fasting isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about intentionally giving yourself a break from reacting so that you can process what you're feeling with clarity. Think of it like a reset button for your emotional health. When you fast from food, it's about giving your body a break to restore balance. Emotional fasting works the same way. It's a chance to step back, breathe, and let the emotional dust settle. Let me share a personal story. A while ago, I had a falling out with a close friend. I was hurt, frustrated, and ready to let them know exactly how I felt. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, drafting a message that, let's be honest, wasn't going to end well. But then I stopped. I told myself, wait 24 hours, don't respond right now. Just feel what you're feeling without acting on it. So I waited. By the next day, the anger had faded, and I saw the situation more clearly. Instead of sending a defensive message, I reached out with curiosity and kindness. The result? a heartfelt conversation that strengthened our friendship instead of tearing it apart. The power of emotional fasting lies in the pause. It's a reminder that not every feeling requires immediate action. Sometimes, emotions need time to reveal their true source. Is your anger about what just happened, or is it tied to something deeper? Is your anxiety about the future, or is it rooted in self-doubt? By fasting emotionally, you give yourself the space to untangle these threads and respond in a way that aligns with your values, not just your impulses. This isn't easy, and it won't always feel natural. Emotions are persuasive. They want you to react right now. But every time you practice emotional fasting, you're building a skill that strengthens your emotional resilience. You're reclaiming your peace, your perspective, and your power. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by a wave of emotion, remember this: you don't have to act immediately. Pause, breathe, give yourself the gift of time. This isn't about avoiding your feelings, it's about honoring them by giving them the clarity and attention they deserve. Emotional fasting isn't just a strategy, it's a way of reclaiming control over your inner world. One pause at a time. Number 6, the 3-minute breakdown rule. Let me ask you something. What do you do when everything feels like it's crumbling around you? Do you freeze, panic, or start tackling everything all at once? Here's a little secret. Sometimes the best way to handle a chaotic situation is to stop. Yep, just stop and give yourself 3 minutes. I call it the 3-minute breakdown rule, and it's about leaning into the overwhelm for a short, controlled burst, so you can take back control afterward. Sounds counterintuitive, right? But stay with me, because this might just change how you deal with life's toughest moments. We've all had those days. The deadline is creeping closer, your phone won't stop buzzing, and you realize you've forgotten to handle something important. That suffocating feeling starts to take over, and before you know it, you're spiraling. You know the type of day I'm talking about. It's the one where even the tiniest inconvenience feels like the last straw. And in those moments, people usually say, just stay calm. But let's be honest, how often does stay calm actually work? Here's where the 3-minute breakdown rule comes in. Instead of resisting the overwhelm, you embrace it, but only for 3 minutes. Set a timer, step away from the chaos, and let yourself feel everything. Cry, scream, punch a pillow, or just sit and stare at the wall. Whatever you need to do, give yourself full permission to break down during those 3 minutes. Why? Because bottling up your emotions or pretending they don't exist only prolongs the stress. By allowing yourself this controlled release, you're clearing the emotional fog that stops you from thinking clearly. I remember one time at work when I was juggling multiple deadlines and everything seemed to be going wrong. My laptop crashed, my phone wouldn't stop ringing, and my boss sent me an urgent email asking for something I hadn't even started. My first instinct was to push through it, but I could feel myself getting more and more overwhelmed. So I did something different. I walked to the break room, set a timer on my phone, and let myself unravel. For 3 minutes, I let all the frustration, panic, and helplessness out. And when the timer went off, I took a deep breath, went back to my desk, and started tackling one thing at a time. The beauty of this rule is that it's short enough to not derail your day, but long enough to let your emotions run their course. It works because it creates a boundary. Your emotions don't get to take over indefinitely, but they're also not ignored. It's a simple act of acknowledging your feelings while staying in control. This isn't about giving up, it's about recalibrating. When you let yourself feel the overwhelm for 3 minutes, you're giving your brain the signal that it's okay to pause, process, and move forward. And once you've let it out, you'll find it easier to approach problems with clarity and focus. So, the next time you're drowning in stress, remember, You're allowed to break down, as long as you set a timer. Those 3 minutes might just be the reset you need to tackle whatever comes next. This is about reclaiming your power, your perspective, and your ability to navigate life's storms without letting them define you. Number 7. Radical rationalization. Have you ever caught yourself spiraling over a mistake or misstep, replaying it in your mind like a broken record? Maybe it's that one awkward thing you said in a meeting, or the way a project didn't turn out quite right. And no matter how much you try to move on, it sticks to you like gum on your shoe. Here's the twist. What if I told you that the key to breaking free isn't ignoring it, but confronting it head-on in a way that's surprisingly empowering? It's called radical rationalization, and it's about rethinking how you view mistakes, not as failures, but as fuel for growth. Sounds like a lot, I know, but stick with me. This one's a game changer. We've all been there. You know the moment. You're lying in bed, replaying that cringe-worthy conversation from earlier, and it feels like your brain has decided to put it on a loop just to torture you. It's frustrating because no matter how much you tell yourself to let it go, it doesn't budge. And honestly, why would it? Your brain is wired to latch onto mistakes as a survival mechanism, as if obsessing over them is going to fix them. Spoiler, it won't. But here's where radical rationalization comes in to change the narrative. Radical rationalization isn't about sugarcoating your mistakes or pretending they don't matter. It's about stripping them down to their core and reframing them as logical, even beneficial moments of learning. You take the emotion out of the equation and look at the mistake like a detective examining clues. Why did this happen? What can I learn from it? How can I use this to do better next time? It's not about excusing the mistake. It's about understanding it in a way that's constructive instead of destructive. I'll never forget the time I bombed a presentation at work. I was so caught up in trying to sound perfect that I forgot half my key points, stumbled over my words, and ended up rushing through the last few slides. For days afterward, I couldn't shake the embarrassment. But then I tried something different. I sat down and rationalized the whole experience. Why did I mess up? Well, I didn't rehearse enough. Why didn't I rehearse? Because I was trying to wing it, thinking it would make me sound more natural. And just like that, I had my answer. Next time, preparation would be my best friend. The moment I rationalized it, the shame faded, and I felt empowered to do better. The beauty of radical rationalization is that it shifts your focus from beating yourself up to building yourself up. When you rationalize a mistake, you're not erasing it. You're owning it and using it as a stepping stone. You're saying, "This happened, but it doesn't define me." It's not always easy. Sometimes you'll resist the process because it feels easier to wallow in self-pity. But trust me, once you start seeing your mistakes as opportunities for growth, everything changes. This isn't about denying your feelings. It's about balancing them with logic. Yes, you're allowed to feel disappointed or frustrated, but don't let those feelings take the wheel. Instead, let radical rationalization guide you to clarity and action. This is about reclaiming your narrative, rewriting the story of your mistake as one of resilience and progress. So the next time you catch yourself spiraling, pause, take a deep breath, and rationalize it. Break it down, learn from it, and move forward. This is how you take back control, by seeing every stumble not as the end, but as a new beginning. Remember, your mistakes don't define you. How you respond to them does. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this video gave you some valuable insights and practical steps to take charge of your emotions and approach life with more clarity and control. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really supports the channel and helps more people discover content like this. And if you're interested in diving deeper into topics like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. If you know someone who's struggling to get a handle on their emotions, share this video with them. It might just be the perspective they need. I'd also love to hear your thoughts. What strategies have you tried to manage your emotions? What challenges do you face? Drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Remember, mastering your emotions isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every step you take to better understand and guide your feelings is a win. Keep moving forward, stay grounded, and always remember, you've got this. Until next time, take care and stay empowered.